What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions. So I've received this question so often now that I thought I'd make a video just to kind of refer people to this video when they ask me, you know, how is it that I got started, where is it that I kind of came from, and how is it that I got to this point. This question really came about when I bought the McLaren 570S. I still have the GTR that I have posted for sale. But I hope you guys enjoy this story time. You know, my story isn't necessarily very what's it called, unique or anything like that, but I really hope that it could inspire some of you and show you, you know, how normal I was and how, you know, I just with, you know, hard work and stuff like that, you can get to this point today. So I hope that you guys enjoy. Boom, boom, boom. What's going on, guys? So let's get right to it. I'm gonna start talking about, I hope that it's, you know, kind of in the timeline that you guys are all hoping for it to be, but I'm just gonna start talking about kind of how I got started, a little bit about my beginnings, and kind of go from there. So for those that don't know who it is that I am, my name is Ricky. I have a little bit over 100,000 subscribers. Thank you guys again on YouTube, right? And I have a little bit over 80,000 members currently within my TechBot Solutions free networking group. So it's where you get to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, and you share your best practices, you share your mistakes in whatever market it is that you are investing in. We mainly focus in investing in the stock market, but we cover all different forms of markets and forms of investing. So how is it that I started? So just for those that don't know, I'm Hispanic, right? My last name is Gutierrez. I'm actually fluent in Spanish, and my parents actually came from Mexico. So I'm gonna talk about kind of like that beginning, right? So I'm full Mexican. I grew up in a full Hispanic like household. My mom like barely speaks any English, and I grew up in a very traditional family. So I'm the only one here in Arizona. I moved out here because I wanted to pursue going to school at ASU Polytechnic, but my whole family resides, you know, in Orange County, California. And the really cool thing that I think is a little bit different for myself, or, you know, it might be similar to some of you, is that I came from a, you know, Mexican family, but although, like, you know, Spanish was all that was spoken in like at the house, I grew up going to, like, you know, public schools and obviously, you know, speaking English and stuff like that. So I was able to kind of experience the best of both worlds, in my opinion. Now, my dad moved out here, or, you know, came as an immigrant from Mexico with his brothers, and they started this business, right? They started this general contracting company, really. They laid down tile and they did general contracting work. They were, you know, doing just fine. Not too sure about the whole mechanics of who was the owner or anything of that. All I knew was, like, you know, obviously we're Hispanic, and my brother, my dad had a lot of brothers, so they were very efficient with the jobs. They would get jobs done very easily, and he did that for years. The thing that I love about my dad is that he's very passionate about tile work, right? Like laying down tile, putting granite top and stuff like that. Like that was his passion, and he was able to turn, like, you know, his passion into a business. And again, that's where it all comes from. So a little bit about him. He did, like, you know, a couple, based on my understanding of what it is that he has done, he did like the first 50 Little Caesars pizzas in like California and stuff like that, according to what he told me. And you know, I just remember, the reason I'm talking about that is because as I remember growing up, many, like, you know, I feel like immigrant families, every weekend, like Saturday and Sunday, I would have to go and work with him on the weekend. And I was like, you know, starting from the very early age of, like, I want to say like 5 or 6 years old. I swear, it was horrible. He would take me and my cousin Horacio, he used to live with me and my family, and we would have to go to work with him on the weekend, and we would just like hand him the towel. He didn't want to like reach over and stuff like that, so he would hand us the towel. I would have to wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning. I just remember hating the weekends because I would have to do like this manual labor with my dad. You know, it's not just I just did it as a child. I did it to like almost like, you know, my freshman year in high school. So it was a lot of work. I'm pretty sure I still did some work when I was in high school, but I absolutely hated it. The reason that my dad didn't like bringing me to work was because I would, when I got a little bit older, I was using kind of like the machine where you would actually cut the tile, and I would use the scrap tile or even some of the actual tile that he had to use, and I would make like little devices or little contraptions. Like I would like use all his scotch tape and stuff like that, not scotch tape, like duct tape and that blue masking tape, and make like cell phones, or, you know, try to make like these devices out of his tile work. And he would say that I was like wasting all his material, or, you know, I would be in his van, right, where all the material is at, and I would just like mess around with all his tools and stuff like that. So I knew right away that that was not something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And the reason that I bring that up is because my dad brought me to, you know, his work from a very early age, and he would always tell me, hey, you know, this is why you need to work so hard in school so you don't have to do this for the rest of your life. He knew right away that I was not passionate about doing tile work. My dad loves doing tile work, at least he loved it, right? And you know, it worked for him, and he was a very hard-working, you know, individual in that perspective. But he wanted me to work a little bit more with like my mind, right, with my head, and wanted me to, you know, do well in school so I could end up doing, you know, I would assume kind of like what I'm doing now. But that's kind of my beginnings. So for those that don't know, I'm Mexican, and I think the approach that my dad took in showcasing, you know, every single day, every single weekend, I would honestly get in trouble if I wouldn't go to work with him. And it was just like, it was just a hassle that I would just end up going with him because he'd make me feel bad if I didn't. And I love that because he instilled so much value in, you know, how to work hard for your money. And he has been a huge role model in my life that has really guided me in the right direction. One of the things that I talked about that he had one of the biggest decision factors on, I think, why it is that I turned out the way that I did, is first of all, how I was raised, right? Very traditional Hispanic American family. And the decision that I took when I was 20 years old to buy the house first instead of the GTR, that was one of the biggest like pivots that I took in my life. Instead of, you know, when I had the money available to buy the GTR, him saying that, you know, hey, if I were you know, I think a smarter investment would be to buy the house first, rent out the rooms, and then buy the GTR. That small little decision, just little things like that, influenced and changed my life. And, you know, 6 months later, being able to buy another, you know, property because of this, because I was in this house, and then I was able to buy my neighbor's house. And then, you know, a year after that, I was able to buy, you know, 2 condos and stuff like that. So that small little decision on me actually taking action and buying the house first instead of the GTR, and then the GTR later, you know, probably if I bought the GTR, I would have not been so motivated to actually buy a house, because it would have been a little bit more difficult for me to, you know, either save some money because, you know, I was making money off of me owning the house. So just a little quick breakdown on that. So that was kind of how I got started, a little bit of more of like my foundations and my beginnings, right, from who it is that I am, how it is that I grew up. So you guys can just imagine a Mexican American family. That's kind of like how I grew up. My parents are very conservative. I grew up Catholic, and we would go to Sunday church every Sunday. So that was definitely something that I don't want to say forced to do, but it was something that was required for me to do, right? As long as I lived under the roof of my parents, that was something that I had to do. Now, me and my roommates, we go to a local church here, and we go every single Sunday. And it's an amazing experience that I'm able to share with the people that I live with. So it's a true blessing. So I can't say that. It really keeps us connected and really keeps us grounded. So I thank you again, Dad, for that. Now, what I wanted to talk about is obviously entrepreneurship and that whole perspective. So my first actual venture, right? I was always buying and selling stuff. You know, when there were fundraisers or something like that at school, I was always like, you know, trying to help either like people or my classmates or something like that. I was always super into the idea of making money out of nothing, right? That was just super inspiring to me. But I remember, like, I started my first company. This was like my first real kind of like company where people actually knew me because of it. And it was when I was 14, I believe, when I started it. So I used to skateboard, and I was actually pretty good. I don't know if I have any videos, and if I do, then a video will play right now. If I don't, then it won't. But I used to skateboard like all the time. And again, this is about being involved in your niche and being exposed to opportunities and taking action. So again, I was 14, I was with my friends, and they were playing like with these little like tech decks, but they were wooden. They're called fingerboards. Not too sure if you guys are familiar with that. And they would always like listen and watch these YouTube videos on this guy named Mike Schneider. And he was like this, like, you know, YouTuber, the young kid, 18 to 20 years old, and he was like a millionaire, right? He had this company called Flat Face Fingerboards, and he used to sell them, or I don't know if he still does, but it was it's multi-million-dollar company, and it was the most reputable company out there. And they would sell these wooden fingerboards for like $50. It was super expensive. I don't know, $30 to $50, some even up to $100. And these little fingerboards can get up to like $100 to $120 with the little trucks and little wheels and the grip tape and stuff like that. It was ridiculous. Now, my friends were like, hey, like maybe we should start this company that competes with them, and we make our own fingerboards, because, you know, I like my fingerboard, you know, the little skateboard, to have like, you know, more concave, or for you know, to have more pop, or I want it to design it a different way. So all that stuff, right? Making it more personable. So what we started, like, as a group, like we started the company as a group, and, you know, as time went on, obviously the money wasn't there because we were just making it for fun. We were buying the veneer, right, the little wood on eBay. We were using different tools. We were making molds and stuff like that. And the thing that I remember was that as time was going on, people that we originally started the company with started to fall off, right? That they started to no longer like come to our weekly meetings and stuff like that. And then it ended up being just myself that was continuing to do this. You know, and then 3 years later down the road, I actually still was continuing to make these fingerboards. And it grew to something, not that was like astronomical or anything like that. It was just something that I was doing like as a hobby as time was going on. And at a point, you know, at like from 14 to like 17, there were some months that I was making like, you know, a couple hundred, maybe a couple $1,000s altogether within the year. I was making a couple $1,000s a year. That was really impressive to me because, again, I was making something that people saw value in, and I was selling online. I was making YouTube videos. I was showcasing kind of like what it was that like I was making. There should be a picture popping up of kind of more closer to when I kind of stopped doing it, of like this finished product. These were called like veneer splits. So like I would actually design the board with a series of different veneer and mold them together. And the boards were actually pretty decent. I was then making little obstacles out of concrete. How was it that I was able to do this? Well, obviously my dad as a general contractor, I grew up with, you know, him using concrete and Bondo, so I was exposed to that, but I was also exposed to this market because I was skateboarding with my friends of these little fingerboards. So because I was exposed to those, I asked my dad, hey, you know, I need to make a mold. Can you assist me with it? And, you know, he kind of just explained to me like, okay, this is how you mix concrete. This is how you put everything together. And then I actually, you know, learned myself, and then I was making these molds, I was making these fingerboards, I was using my clamps. I had my whole little thing where I shared a room with my little sister, I think when I was 14, I'm not too sure, my little sister or my cousin. And I just remember I used to have 3 molds always going, you know, every single day in a routine under my bed. So every time I would wake up, I would remove the molds, I would unclamp them, put new sets of like, you know, new fingerboards to mold there. So I would finish 3, have them done, I would mold another 3, and then when I would get back from school, remove those, put another 3, and then go, and then in the morning again, I would wake up and then do it all over again. So I was producing about 6 a day, and to keep up with like the demand and stuff like that. I thought it was the absolute coolest thing. My family, there's like, you know, close family, even family from like Mexico, that heard of like what it was that I was doing, and they're always asking like, hey, like how's your little business going? So that was really cool. And for all those that were asking like, how was it that I was able to save money to kind of like start funding my trading account and stuff like that, that was my thing. I mean, as you guys can imagine, I'm a very conservative, you know, person. And when it came down to like saving money, I saved all my money. I didn't have any expenses. I knew one of the things that I would always buy were shoes. I used to have like always the freshest shoes like in high school. Not anymore though. Look, I got some Janowskis that look super dirty, but you know, shoes were kind of my thing. My skateboards were the thing as well. But you know, I didn't like throw my money away. Obviously I was young. I didn't go on vacations or anything like that. And I had my parents that really provided for me. So again, no expenses. That's why I think starting young is such a huge part. So that's a little bit about like my first venture. Going into that, I was really looking at new ways on how to make money. When I was about 14 or 14 and a half, almost turning 15, I learned about the stock market because I was searching online after watching the Fast and the Furious movies. You know, how is it that a young individual can actually make money online? And I read this article about this kid in this like close city that made over $1 million by the time he graduated in high school. And he did it within all 4 years. And he was, again, they were focused on like, you know, investing in the stock market, focusing on penny stocks and stuff like that. Obviously, you know, a young individual being exposed to that, I was able to open like a custodial account, funded it, and then started trying to learn to trade penny stocks. Obviously, it didn't go well. I had no guidance. My dad didn't know how to invest in the stock market. No one in my family that I knew knew how to invest in the stock market. So I was going based off of YouTube videos. I was going based off of like Google forums and stuff like that, and it wasn't very effective. Obviously, it wasn't much longer than I, you know, nearly lost the entire account. Obviously, that is very discouraging, especially at a very young age. But I feel like I'm very level-headed in the idea that, you know, whatever market's out there, regardless of how difficult it is, you know, Forex, binary options, you know, trading in the stock market, penny stocks, whatever niche it is, I know that there is money being made. There's no question about that. So even if it's extremely difficult or there's a very small percentage of people that experience success, there has to be a way on how to see success in it. And I understood that at a young age. I just knew that I had to take certain steps to be able to understand what these individuals are doing, or the overall concept of how it is that they're actually doing it. So what I started to do was, I stopped for a little bit and then I opened a simulation paper trading account. So that's with fake money, right? Back then they didn't have a limitation. I know that they have now that it's like, 2 to 3 months for TD Ameritrade. There was no limitation for, like it wasn't just for 2 to 3 months, especially not through TD Ameritrade or Fidelity. So I was using the simulation account for quite a while. And the thing that I was focusing on was, hey, like, not until I can prove to myself that I can either start breaking even or start making consistent growth within my account, then I'll make the transition back from a simulation account to a real account. And that wasn't, I wasn't taking trading to the level that I am today. I remember that I had a friend from high school, his name was Dylan, and we were going back and forth and kind of brainstorming ideas and stocks to invest in and stuff like that. But it was the whole idea was never giving up on my dream of learning how to invest in the stock market. And that's what I would encourage for each and every single one of you, is whatever it is, if you want to start your brand, if you want to start your own company, if you want to, juggle balls or something, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do, if you want to perform in the circus, whatever it was, something that I always knew about myself was that I was very consistent, I was very determined. I never took no for an answer, and for whatever it was that, what was going on and how bad it was that I was doing, I knew that, big picture, even if it took 10, 15, 30, 40 years, I was going to eventually learn how to invest in the stock market because of how disciplined and consistent I wanted to be in this market. It wasn't until when I was like 20 that I really started, I want to say like 19 to 20, I was starting to make money. So about 18, I started breaking even and stuff like that. And what was it that I was doing for the meantime? So again, I was running, I was learning how to invest in the stock market. I was skateboarding. I was running like my little fingerboard company. And the thing that I got into with my cousin Horacio, who's the one that actually lived with me for some time, were online sales. We were actually we were buying and selling stuff online that we would buy from like AliExpress, Alibaba, when we were under the age of 18. So I remember we opened an account, and the thing was like eBay was not a huge thing. Amazon was definitely not a huge thing at that time. And our competitors, like we were one of the top resellers for these products that we would buy and resell. I remember when I stopped because of me trying to take trading a little bit more seriously. Horacio, my cousin, he went full-fledged in online sales with both eBay and Amazon. And I remember like net profits, I think were anywhere from like $50,000 to $60,000 a year that he was making. And he was again 18 to 19 years old. But overall sales were like $150,000 to $200,000. And I think that's amazing. Again, we started at a young age. We found these products that we could resell for a profit. It wasn't in a very congested market. Nowadays, I don't think you could even like buy and sell these products at least competitively. But again, we were doing that also. So we're doing online sales for a little bit. And then when I turned 18, again, I know I'm kind of going back and forth. I'm just trying to explain everything that I've ever invested in. When I turned 18, actually on my 18th birthday, my brother was like, hey, I found this like Honda Civic. If you want to flip it with me. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, because he has a dealership, right? So he buys and sells cars for a living. He owns a dealership, and it's a used car dealership. And he was just like, yeah, like I'll show you kind of like how I do it and stuff like that. So he exposed me to that market. Now, how it is that you guys know, I mean, I do this as a hobby, and we buy and resell both low-end cars and my exotic cars. That's all it is that we do with these cars. I don't buy them and take a depreciation hit. At least that's not my goal. I buy them and sell them for a profit. And year to date, I have not lost, I want to say not even on one vehicle that I've ever purchased, I've taken a loss on. I'm trying to think, because I had my Dodge Dart, I had my Ford Mustang, I've had the Genesis. Yeah, there's no car that I've ever purchased that I actually took a loss on. And it's because of what my brother taught me, how it is to find the deals. I kind of grew up with him being a car dealer and stuff like that. And my dad was also always buying and reselling cars. Like my family were always just individuals that were looking at different ways on how to make money. Were they the most successful in it? 100% no. But I think the biggest thing that played a huge role in my success was the quality that they instilled in me. And it's, really being consistent and being a go-getter. I remember I wasn't doing very good in one of my classes, and my sister got called in with my counselor, and then they're like, Ricky, where do you want to go where do you want to attend for your 4-year university? I was like, I want to go to UCSB. And then I remember my counselor was saying that
well, Ricky, you know, based on your GPA, I don't know if you're actually going to be able to get there. And I was like, okay, well, explain to me, what is it that I need to do? And she like explained like my grades, what they need to be and stuff like that. And then my sister, I remember her saying, I was like, the thing that I think, you know, people don't really understand about Ricky is that he's a go-getter. And, you know, I was taking a couple AP classes. I was on track to end up, you know, going to that school. But realistically, my GPA when I graduated was not anywhere close to where it had to be. To go to UCSB and stuff like that. But hey, you know, maybe if I went to UCSB, I would have not, you know, I would have not been doing so well because of all the opportunity and the partnerships that I established here in Arizona. So everything works out for a reason. But yeah, that's kind of like how I got started. And like, you know, talking a little bit more about like, you know, really the trading thing. So what I wanted to talk about that was like, you know, the whole idea of this is for you guys to understand how important it is to have a passion for what it is that you are pursuing. Let me explain to you this. So from the age of 18 to 22, I had a job. So I had a job and it was all in the same field, and it was a telecommunication based job. So a lot of you guys know the job that I've kind of had. I've talked about it before. It was a commission based job and it allowed me to save a lot of money. I was making on the low end anywhere from $45,000 to I want to say about $65,000 a year just off of these commission based jobs. I originally started as part-time. When I moved to Arizona for the first 6 months, I was full-time. And then after that, I was part-time. I was working anywhere from 25 to 30 hours max a week as a full-time student. And again, still juggling, you know, my properties, my real estate, and the different businesses. I'm sorry, my properties, the real estate, and then the day trading and everything else that I had to do. And I'm a huge believer in both, you know, the school system and as well as having a stable income. So I know there's a lot of social media like entrepreneurs that say no, like school is not cool, or whatever, that, you know, it might limit you to a certain extent. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty conservative, and I know that if I did not take action to actually come over here from California to Arizona because of ASU Polytechnic, first of all, I would have not purchased my first house. Second of all, I would have not established these different partnerships that I now have, which led me to be where it is that I am today with, you know, TechBud Solutions and the different, you know, companies that it is that we own. So I think that's the huge thing. I was, you know, extremely motivated, and I'm pretty weird in the perspective that I remember like my first semester here at ASU Polytechnic, I was so motivated to find and network. Just that was my goal here. I knew like within the first 6 months I had to buy my first house, and I ended up doing it like 3 days. Like I closed my house 3 days. So I closed it like December 22nd, I believe, something like that, like a couple days before my 21st birthday, and that was my goal. And when it came down to like coming here, my whole idea was I needed to get in contact with developers. I needed to get in contact with other entrepreneurs. And there's an app that when you come to ASU, it's called the Devil to Devil app. And obviously our mascot is like a devil and stuff like that. So that's why it's that. But I remember my bio was like looking for other entrepreneurs. Like, you know, I like talking about business, something like that. Nothing that had to do with like, you know, meeting girls or anything like that. I mean, I had a girlfriend at the time. And it was hilarious because the first person that messaged me was Phil, who's currently my roommate and currently one of my partners when it comes down to buying and reselling cars. And I remember him messaging me because we were both from California. He was from more in the San Diego area. I was more from Orange County area. And because of him, his roommate at that time that he met was Joel, my other current roommate. And he's worked with me also and actually helped me start TechBud Solutions. And then because of Phil, I was able to, or because of these two guys, I was able to buy this house. They started living with me, and then I ended up buying the house next door. Phil assisted me in actually finding tenants that could actually live there, which helped me establish more connections. And then later again, it just grew to like, you know, one thing going to another, leading to, you know, this. And, you know, that's why I'm so passionate about always taking action and never taking no for an answer. Regardless if it's like, you know, when it comes down to buying your first house or starting your business or starting to day trade or starting any form of investing. My biggest thing is always, if you can't take action, there's no reason that you can't 100% take action now. So like for some of you that, like, let's say you need a social security number to open a brokerage account. There's no reason that you can't actually start learning how to invest in the stock market by watching a series of free videos. right? Or finding another brokerage, or, not taking no for an answer, but start applying for like, outside brokerages such as SureTrade, UStockTrader, or different platforms that actually offer, that don't need a social security number. And that's what I wanted to showcase. I wanted to explain to you that, I feel like a lot of people, because of my age, something that I actually found very disrespectful today was I was going to the gym. Well, not that, believe it or not, I go to the gym. But I was going to the gym, and obviously, it's the gym right down the street. And I get told this like pretty often to an extent. And I was going to the gym, I finished working out, and I was getting back into my car, and there was a car that was in front of my car. I took the McLaren, right? So obviously I don't act like I'm something special or anything like that. I just like, wave at the guy. And then I'm going to get into my car. He's like, is that your car? And I was like, oh yeah. He was like, or is it your dad's car? And I'm just like, no, it's my car. He's like, no, I don't believe you. Like, what is it that you do? Do you work for your dad? And those like little like remarks and stuff like that. Like, I guess I can't blame him, because he obviously doesn't know who it is that I am or what it is that I do. And he probably thinks, it is pretty common, I guess, for other people to, have their parents. I don't know whose parents has bought them a McLaren. I don't know. I don't know anyone that wealthy. But to me, it was just really offensive where people just make that judgment and just think that, like, hey, obviously everything was given to you and stuff like that. I want to explain to you guys that regardless of where it is that you start, right? We all start in different foundations, and we all come from different income levels, right? Some come from the very bottom, and they have to work a little bit harder to get to the point, where, a lot of people are already starting, right? With a medium income. So all I wanted to talk about was whatever market it is that you want to pursue, whatever market it is that you want to invest in, whatever venture it is that you see value in, passion has to be a huge part of it. When it came down to starting my first business of buying, making and selling these fingerboards, I was involved in that market because I had a passion for skateboarding, and I found a niche where I could actually create something that provided value for people, which they were willing to pay for, right? When it came down to, TechButt Solutions and this free networking group that I created, I never, when I first started this like small group and trying to just continue my motivation and surround myself with like-minded individuals, I never knew that 1 year later it was going to grow to something where we have over 80,000 members, and it would be a huge part of my life. TechButt Solutions is my life, and it's what I'm known for. I'm known for investing in the stock market, although that's not all it is that I do. And that's just it. If you would have asked me 3 years ago, hey, where do you plan to be, I would have not been able to tell you exactly. All I knew was that I was following my dreams, and I was driven by my passion. I was willing to put forth the time and work a normal job that paid me well enough, that allowed me to save and take advantage of other opportunities. So I knew what I was valued at, and I knew I was getting paid pretty well without a college degree, but I was still going to college. And I was able to take action. I was trying to understand every single market that I had a passion for and saw value in. When it came down to buying and reselling cars, real estate, online stores, when it came down to investing in the stock market, I tried to at least understand that market and tried to be the best I could be in that market. And that's what I would encourage for each and every single one of you. There's so much information out there. There's so much information that all you need to do is actually just take action for you 2, 3, 4 years down the road, that you can be hopefully in my shoes. I'm not saying that I'm anything special. I'm just saying that I know a lot of people message me saying that their goal is to be where it is that I am today. I can tell you that if I had what I wish I had someone that when I was 14, because it was such a new thing, that could have guided me in investing in the stock market, because I had to learn everything myself. I had to search up YouTube videos that were extremely boring from individuals that were very monotone and very just raw, right? And when it came down to just learning the whole mechanics and everything it is, and how long it took me to get to the point to actually be profitable, that's why I think I provide so much value for people. Now within the Learn, Plan, Profit group, instead of people having to work so hard for about 4 to 6 years like myself, and then getting to a point where you're actually profitable, we can really expedite that process, and we have people within 2 to 3 weeks making as much money as that I am when it comes down to trading. But it's because we provide this roadmap. It's not this secret map to success. It's just these best practices and these tools and these resources that I've utilized that have assisted me in getting a better understanding of what the stock market is and how to take advantage of set opportunities. So that's all I feel like I am. I'm a tool, or I'm a resource that you guys have access to to act as a catalyst to your success. This is not, you know, something that is ultimately going to be like, you know, okay, well, if you trade with me, like you're going to be super rich or nothing like that, right? It's, you know, I've made numerous videos on kind of the approach that I take. I'm pretty conservative. It's not like I'm making millions and millions of dollars by investing in the stock market, right? I have different streams of income, and I've showcased and I've explained that multiple times. So I need you guys to understand that. But if you're someone that really wants to start taking actions and really wants to see a return, right, really like a change in your life, then I feel like I can really provide a lot of value in that perspective, because I feel like with the information that I have and the resources that I've put together, it makes and really cuts down the time that you will most likely invest if you were to do it by yourself. There's a bunch of free information out there, and I'm 100%, I mean, I've covered it on my YouTube channel. I have over 600 videos. I think maybe over 700 now. But that's a lot of time to invest to learn about a market. So that's why, you know, we've created the Learn, Plan, Profit lesson library. It's the first link in the description, and it's where I assist a couple thousand members, and I will speak to them every single day, Monday through Friday. And we talk about the top stocks that I see value in. We talk about the top stocks that they see value in. And it's all about just that connection and that communication that we have. And I provide a, you know, lifetime access to the video lesson library that I continuously update, and, you know, the step-by-step process on what it is that you need to know that has led to my success, and the patterns that you need to know that, you know, can eventually, you know, make you money. And that's just it. So it doesn't mean that you need to invest in the stock market. This is just for those that are interested. But there's so much information out there. Don't say, okay, well, I'm gonna wait till I get my tax return to start investing. You know, I'm gonna wait till you know, maybe I graduate high school, or you know, I get the next raise at my job. It's none of that. It's about starting to take action and slowly snowballing into something much greater. It doesn't mean that you have to, you know, risk anything, right? It's just about taking action on a consistent basis and never giving up, being driven by your passion, and let that be that continuous, you know, just flame that never gets put out, right? Regardless of what it is that you're doing, you could always go back to what it is that you love, and that might be investing in the stock market. That might be, you know, your business. That might be, you know, apparel. I don't know, whatever it is that you guys love. So all I wanted to talk about was giving you guys a backstory of who it is that I am, where it is that I came from, kind of a little bit about my story, and how I got to the point where I am today. So thank you guys again so much for your time. I'm sorry that this video was a little bit longer than expected, but I've been getting this question a lot, especially after, you know, I accomplished being able to buy, you know, my McLaren 570S outright. I own my GTR outright. I own the you know, BMW M3 outright. And I say that just because some people think that, you know, I'm financing and stuff like that. And I really wish that I was able to finance it, but what's it called? When it came down to, I've never really financed a car. I've financed like $20,000 worth of a $80,000 car, and it's just because my car history credit isn't necessarily there. So that's just something that I'm gonna have to work on. But yeah, that's really just it. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you know you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys have any questions, then feel free to comment down below. If you guys can give the video a thumbs up, you know, it would let me know that you guys actually enjoyed what it is that I explained today. But I just really hope that a lot of you this year and going on forward can actually start taking action. I think, don't quote me exactly by word, but you miss 100% of the opportunities you don't take. And, you know, I didn't know exactly where it was that I was going to be in 2 years, right? Looking 2 years back. All I knew was that I was going to be doing something that is that I loved, and I was very consistent about it, and everyone knew that I was fully devoted into working. So just a little bit about myself, and yeah, that's really just it. So thank you guys again so much for your time. I hope you guys all have an amazing Monday. So continue working hard, continue following your dreams. Let your passion be what drives you in your success. If you guys aren't subscribed already, we do go live every single day, Monday through Friday, talking about investing in the stock market. So I go live and I talk about my trades. So we'd love to have you. So if you want to subscribe, feel free to do so if you're not already. Like always, guys, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.
I'm at my prime. Yeah. I'm at my prime. Whoa. Have I gone too far? Do you detect something different? If you look